Okay, so good evening, everybody. Welcome to this second seminar of our Green Reporters project. Today, we will have only two guests, but very important. You already know Giannis because he was with us also during the first seminar. So welcome back, Giannis. Giannis will be involved during the second part of the seminar, while the first part will be held by Mr. Tremeur Denigot, who I really thank to be here with us. I am sure that he will give us very interesting and concrete inputs about what the European Commission is doing according to this very important topic, so about environment, climate. And even if the two parts of today can appear a little bit different, you will see that there will be a lot of things in common, because Tremeur will present us, as I said, what the European Commission, the European Union, but also single persons are doing in this topic. And Giannis will present us some useful tools, will give us concrete examples on how to communicate all these things, mainly through the socials, but not only. The two things are extremely linked, because European Commission, European Union is demanding for participation, especially from young people. So it will be nice to know more what about Europe is doing, and to learn on how to prepare, how to communicate, how to be involved. So please, Tremeur, the floor is yours. Let me know if you need.
You got to give me a right to share my screen.
Yes.
It's okay. So you might see my screen.
Yes. Can you see all?
It's okay. Yes. I will enlarge it. Huh? Don't worry. Can do that. So that. Okay. So first of all, thank you very much, Enrico, for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here. And hello, everyone. So I'm Tremeur Denigot. As you can hear, I'm French. I'm coming from Brittany originally, if you know France, and I'm living in Italy for almost a quarter of a century now. I'm working at the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. So basically, if you're familiar with the or not with the European Commission is the executive body of the European Union. You have something like, I think, 34,000 people working at the European Commission, and they are divided in different departments. Let's say we call these department directorate generals, and the one in charge of science for the policies is the Joint Research Center. So basically, it's a scientific center where you have scientists and technicians who develop some applied science to back up, to support, to give support to the European policies. This Director General is with two others in the portfolio of the Commissioner Gabriel, who is my commissioner, Maria Gabriel from Bulgaria. And she's got three departments, three Director General. One is on the policy about science, which is the one we call RTD, Research and Innovation. Another one is on education and culture, the so-called DG EAC, and the other one is GRC. So this is it for the internal cuisine of the European Commission. And I'm working on a program which is called Education for Climate Coalition, which is co-developed and co-hosted by the two departments, the DGAC and the GRC. But I'm going to explain better. So I'm going to talk to you about what the EU is doing at the moment regarding let's say, green education to make it very short. In fact, I should use the wording learning for the green transition and sustainable development. We use also to use very much the wording coming from the UNESCO, which is education for sustainable development, translated differently depending on your language. But I mean, we're talking about the same thing, basically. We don't want to limit that education to just the environmental dimension, because it's also about biodiversity and many other things. So I will use the wording green education, even if it's absolutely not scientific, but that's at least it's shorter and simpler. So what are we talking about? The European Commission, the last college that has been set up and who is shared by the President von der Leyen, has got a lot of things to do, of course, at European level. But one of the main major set of policies that are being developed at the moment is called the Green Deal. So you have basically a lot of policies to accompany the EU member states towards a very difficult and complex path towards the green transition. So, but you know that I don't have to explain that certainly, but it entails, of course, a lot of changes when it comes to industry, economics, but also society. And ends the question. When the Green Deal was proposed by the European Commission, immediately, of course, all the commissioners entered a reflection to see what their own department, if you want, on set of policies could do to tackle and to support the green transition. So the question was, what about education? Is education playing a role when it comes to the transformational change, which is huge, which is at stake? So obviously the answer is yes, that's obvious. But when it comes to European policies, as you know, of course, education is not of the European responsibility. Member states, of course, are fully independent when it regards education, but still, we're doing things at European level, and we can try to converge towards common objectives. So that's what I'm going to explain. Interesting there, you read certainly my slide. It's interesting. We know that, I mean, there is a very large consensus on the public opinion at the European Union level that climate change, of course, is a very serious problem, and you can see that with that figure. But also because there was a consultation that was run last year by the European Commission that showed that 6 in 10 young people are very worried about climate change. And 3 in 4 think that education and training sector is definitely the one which is the most important when it comes to taking action on climate change and the environmental crisis. So we can do a lot of things regarding education, and the reality is that UNESCO tells us that sad reality is that there's still a lot to do. Most of the member states of the UNESCO at world level don't tackle climate change, or if they do it, it's really at the level of it's very superficial. So we don't manage really to embed climate change within the curricula. Even if the majority of teachers and students would like to do more, would like to have more, but in most of the cases also, and that's the case for educators, they tell us that they need more training, they need more knowledge and skills to be able to do that. So when in September 2020, there was a communication done by the European Commission on the European education area. And you see there the 6 objectives, and one is on the green and digital transition. So I understand that the speaker will speak after me will focus very much on the digital transition. And as a matter of fact, as Enrico was saying at the very beginning, I think it's important to keep in mind by the fact that the both transitions go quite well hand in hand, I should say. But I will skip that. So basically, when that recommendation, that communication I was talking about before was done, and the Commission said, okay, we have to focus very much on the twin transition, digital and green transition. The Commissioner also has the services of the European Commission to come up with concrete solutions, I should say, fully dedicated to green education. Because obviously we have a lot of instruments that we can convert to raise awareness and also to foster, to strengthen the capacities at the EU level in terms of green education, such as Erasmus, for instance. We can green the Erasmus projects, and we can incentivize a lot of green education projects via Erasmus. But the commissioner wanted to have some dedicated tools. So I'm going to talk to you about 3 tools, and I will, of course, insist very much on the last one I'm in charge of, which is Education for Climate Coalition. But the first one was a policy tool. That was something that we needed because, as I said before, education, of course, is of member state responsibility. And we didn't have a text that were invited the member states to do something particular on green education. And now we've got that text. There was a proposal that was proposed by the European Commission to the member states. And I would skip that because it's an old presentation. And that recommendation of the Council has been now adopted. So I will share with you the link in the chat if you are not aware of that text. It has been adopted in June 2022, so a few months ago now. And now the member states have got that text that define a common objective around green education, making it a priority, and listing a lot of things that can be done and recommendations that are for the member state, but also for the European Commission, in order to strengthen the capacities of the EU member states regarding green education. I can say a couple of things there because in terms of content, because when the recommendation was done, the Commission did a consultation. I already said a couple of things about it because the figures I was using at the beginning of my presentation were coming from that consultation. But it was interesting to see, and I will be interested to hear you about that when we will have the questions after the presentation. A lot of things were being said by the people who took that survey, things that we also witnessed when with all the people we encountered, like Enrico, when we did the design of the Education for Climate Coalition, told us. For instance, the thing that when it comes to green education, there are many, many things that already exist, many, in many countries, in many regions. Sometimes even the national administration don't know exactly what's happening because it's super difficult to map what's happening. You have things that are, of course, are big size. You've got big initiatives that exist for a long time now. I'm thinking about, for instance, the work being done by the Foundation on Environmental Education, which is based in Copenhagen. And you might know the label Eco School, for instance, and that's an example. But you have also Mr. Dupont in France, teacher in secondary school, and doing an amazing project maybe with one class. And that is sometimes difficult to map all what's existing. Anyway, even if there are progresses that are being done, that's absolutely obvious. As you can see on the first point, learning for sustainability is not yet fully embedded in education and training. And that's the thing there, because it's not easy. Because if you want really to embed learning for sustainability, you've got to go fully transversal and to embed that really in the curricula, and so which means that you need to introduce some changes that are big, that concern also the time, for instance, the timetables of the teachers and things like that. A lot of teachers that we are meeting, which is still the case today, are people that are super convinced, that tell us that they want to do more, that already do a lot, and they tell us that they do that on their free time, basically. So it's not always the case, but most of the cases that's the case, so which is a bit of a problem, of course. The interesting thing also is that the consultation has clearly shown what we know, and that's something super interesting when you're interested, of course, in education, is that the green education per se is a way of teaching, is a way of learning that focus very much on hands-on learning, that focus very much on experiential learning, that focus very much on project-based learning. So it means that the way you want to teach, your way to promote learning for the green transition, you will teach a different way. So which is also something super, for us, interesting. You've got to focus much more on interdisciplinarity, which means by definition, you have to, if I think about a school, for instance, because of course, learning doesn't happen just in schools, but if I'm thinking about a school, you need to have the teachers working together. So it's not just for the biology teacher to teach about sustainability. So if you manage to have a project where you will have the philosophy teacher, because ethics, for instance, is super important when it comes to sustainability, but will be working with the history teachers, economics teachers, biology teachers, and physics teachers together, then you have something which is super interesting. But you need to have the possibility to do that. And in certain education system, and I'm coming from France, I know what I'm talking about, it's not easy because it doesn't fit the way the organization, of course, has been thought. So I will skip that because I will be too long, Enrico. I will anyway share with you the recommendation. I invite you really to have a look at it because it is an interesting document. Even if it might seem boring, it's a policy document, but still you've got recommendations that are very concrete there for the member states. As you can see here, for the member states. So these are examples of recommendations for the member states. So the first one, of course, might seem to be so obvious, but it has got to be written, which is to establish environmental sustainability as a priority area in education and training, but also then to provide, of course, resources, to focus very much on cooperation, of course, to mobilize also funds that are national or European to foster green education. There are also recommendations for the Commission, and among the recommendations for the Commission, of course, which is always the case for the Commission, we need to foster very much the cooperation between the member states to go beyond the frontiers of all types that exist, and which is precisely what we're trying to do with the Education for Climate Coalition. By the way, the barriers, the frontiers that exist are not always the one that are the most difficult really to get over, are not always the physical one. Sometimes we've got frontiers in our heads that are much more difficult to cross. Second thing that was developed, and it was a super interesting tool, and I'm glad to present it to you, and I'm sure you will be interested in that, was a tool that was developed to accompany the recommendation, which is called Green Comp, to make it short, for green competences. It's a competence framework. So you know that the European Commission has already developed and proposed some conceptual competence framework on other issues, in digital, for instance. DigComp is a good example. That one is focusing on sustainability. So it's something that also that can have an impact and can be used in different sort of context, but of course it's super interesting for education. So it's a tool that concretely identify what are the competences related to sustainability. And the first thing I want to tell you is that competencies are defined there as the ensemble of knowledge, skills, and attitudes. And the very interesting thing with that tool that was developed by the Joint Research Center, the colleagues that are working in Sevilla, of course, they started with working definitions, but then they come up with 4 areas of competence that you can see there in colors. So they define 4 main competence areas. One on values, embodying sustainability values. One on complexity. One on action, acting for sustainability, and one on visioning the future. And within these 4 competence areas, they define 12 competences, so 3 per area, and they came up with concrete descriptors, and also with what they call statements, which means that for all these 12 competences, they propose also some definition of example of knowledge, skills, and attitudes that should be tackled for every competence. So of course, it's a conceptual tool. You can do whatever you want with it. You can adapt it, localize it, but it's a very good start. It's really something which is very useful. So here again, I will go fast because I won't have time, just for you to have a look at that, because this is it in a way. You got everything there. You can find again on the left, you see in colors the competence areas I was talking about before, and you got in the middle the competence that are listed and then a descriptor. So I take one, for instance, which is, I used to be a teacher myself for 20 years, and I was a history teacher. So I didn't wait the European Commission to tell me that I had to foster critical thinking with my students, obviously. And critical thinking is an example of competence that you could use and find in different competence framework. And you find it here again, critical thinking, you see? But there are other competences that are really much more linked to sustainability. An example I think super interesting is systems thinking. How to promote systems thinking, how to define systems thinking. So this is the sort of tool that is really handy for that. So in just one thing to be sure that I was clear enough, there is no order of importance, of course, in that list. A teacher, for instance, or if you want to design a curriculum, you can use a green comp for that. So there's not one competence which is more important than the other, of course, and it's very much context dependent. But okay, so I will skip that because I will be too long. That was just an example of a statement I was talking about before. So if you take systems thinking, so you've got the descriptor on the top of my image there, and this is an example of knowledge, skills, and attitudes that can be developed or linked to that competence, which is system thinking, for instance. So skills, I don't know, students could use life cycle thinking to analyze the risks and benefits of human actions. So then, of course, you get to find the right way, of course, to promote that sort of skill. So this is it. The last thing I want to present to you today is the thing I'm working on, which is Education for Climate Coalition. So basically, to make it very, very easy, it's a community of practice. So it's a place, it's a community composed of members. We started the community now a year ago in the occasion of the first edition of the Education for Climate Day. So from now, there will be every year a day where we will celebrate education for climate. So it was on the 25th of November of last year, and the commissioner pressed the button and put online an online collaborative platform that we use with Enrico and other friends to work together and to share information on green education. So it's a community which is addressed to teachers, educators at large, students, and education stakeholders. So we can come from associations, we can come from NGOs, we can come from industry, we can come from, like me, from public service. And these people have got in common a common interest around green education, of course. You register there based on individual registration. So you register as Enrico Messinese, and then you've got a profile. You know that. You know the sort of collaborative platform that we're using. We're very used to that. So, but it's not. We're not trying to create the LinkedIn of green education or the Facebook of green education. Anyway, we don't have the means of Mark Zuckerberg for sure. So on one hand, it gives you the possibility to connect. I will skip that. I don't have time. I'm sorry. To connect with people. So I will end the. Oh no. Okay. Sorry. I thought I had another slide. To connect with people, of course, and to engage in a conversation, but also to engage in co-creation processes around what we call participatory challenge, which are action where I could, for instance, with Enrico on the teachers or students of another country, like in an Erasmus project, by the way, try to engage together on around an activity. And of course, this is up to the members to define what they want to do together. And that's that's really what I want to tell you, is that I want to insist on that approach, which is a participatory one. We are not there to tell people what they're supposed to do. It's absolutely not the way it works. These are the members themselves that together, they are fully empowered, decide to do things. And it can be initiatives, events, or whatever. The only thing we have in terms of mandate, of course, is what you see on my screen, which is the fact that we want to make sure that all what's happening on the community of practice is related to training teachers, changing behaviors, raising awareness, bridging education with science or developing green skills and competencies. But as you can see, these objectives are so broad that anyway, it's linked more or less to all what is happening around green education. So I will share with you the link and invite you, of course, to register. So Enrico, if I may just, because that's the best thing really is to share the, so this is it. The community of practice has got that tool to work. So of course, the community of practice is not limited to the tool. The tool is just a tool. But I mean, without the tool, of course, it would be very difficult for us to work together. So that's the way it is on the website, because on your cell phone, it will be different. You've got three main doors, if you want. One is on what we're doing there. One is on the community feed, so all what's happening on the community. And then you've got country groups, because, and that's what I want to tell you also, which is super important, is that, as you can see, it's in English, because if we want to work together, we need a common language. But if we limit ourselves to English, that would be just wrong, plainly wrong. So we have country groups where that you can join, and we are in the process of opening these country groups since the beginning of the year. All of them are not open because we are looking for people like Enrico to play the role of coordinator, to take a bit of their time if they want, to give us the possibility to ensure a community management of these groups, because of course we don't speak all the languages. So if I take, for instance, one which is open, which is Italy, I can click on it, and there I can meet and do exactly the same thing as the one I would have done with the larger community, but I will do that in English. And these are the country coordinators, and I see one here that you know, which is called Enrico Messinese. And if I want to join the group, I will, oh, sorry, I was wrong, but that's it. I just have to click there, and to become, of course, I join already. And I will have a stream. I can have an information about the members. Enfin, but that's very intuitive, you will see. And then we can start sharing information exactly as the way you would do it on LinkedIn, on Facebook, basically. But there, of course, there's the community management ensured by Enrico and the others. And you can decide together, of course, what you want to do concretely together. I will end my presentation. I've got 1 minute left, so I'm still in my I will end my presentation by inviting you to the next, you see on my background, Education for Climate Day. So it takes place next Monday, in 3 days time. Next Monday, next Tuesday, and next Wednesday for 2 hours per day, from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock Brussels times. I invite you to register there. So it's very, you will see on the page. So it was there from the beginning. These are the days. The program is the following. So we will have 3 days. You can enroll, and once you will be enrolled, you will receive the links. It's via WebEx, or you can access also via the on its streaming. But so the first day, we will together focus very much on the climate change challenges. So Agatha Meissner is from Generation Climate Europe, will be my moderator of a first panel session with 2 top scientists, contributors of the IPCC, who will explain to us basically what's happening in terms of climate challenge. They are scientists, and they will share with us the really the state of the art in science, especially IPCC science. Then we will have a very large panel discussion with Marculo, is the Vice President of the European Community of Regions, Eric Gilliardi, who is a climate scientist, who is the chair of the Office for Climate Education, an amazing organization which is basically translating the scientific content of the IPCC into something that can be used by educators and students. Giacomo is a colleague, a top scientist of the Joint Research Center, and Manuel Bordeuil, who is the Deputy Secretary General of a specific education system, which is called the European Schools. And together we will explain how education, of course, is part of the solution. On day 2, we will focus with experts on climate education on solutions. with, for instance, Margherita, who is one of the author of the Green Comp, or Conor Galvin, an amazing guy who is at the moment working with the Irish authorities, because you might know that Ireland is going through a very interesting process on how to embed good education into the curriculum of the education system. And on day 3, and I will finish here, we will have a first session with 3 very interesting projects that we've selected via a call we launched this summer. And these are the winners, and they will explain to us examples of what they are doing, whereas one is coming from Portugal, another one is coming from Spain, and another one from Poland, but they are international anyway, and very super interesting. So we will engage, of course, with the audience based on these examples. We will reproduce that session at the COP27 in 1 week on the 17th of November. On the last session, on the last day, so on Wednesday, from 6 to 7 o'clock, we will have different parallel sessions on the country groups I was talking about before. So there will be one Belgium, Bulgaria, Cyprus, France, Germany and Austria. They've decided to do the things together, which is super interesting. Greece and Italy and Romania. So if you're interested, I invite you, of course, to join these sessions that will be done in national language, and that will be the start of something which is, I mean, really, it's up to you to make out of it the best out of it. So I will stop here, Enrico, and I will be very happy to answer questions if there are questions afterwards.
Great. Thank you, Tremeur. As I was saying in the beginning, there are a lot of things that European Commission, European Union is doing on this field. I'm quite sure that you were not well updated on all these things. And of course, the invitation is to go to see through these initiatives. I think that, Tremeur, you will share with us this presentation, so to allow all our participants also to take a look to those last slides you skipped very quickly because of the time. But each single slide, contains very useful information. Of course, I already sent the invitation, especially to the Italian people, to go on the platform, to register on specifically inside the the country group of Italy. The invite is renewed as well, and I suggest also to make a little effort to follow the next climate days, especially, well, all are extremely interesting, especially for the people that will give contribution, lectures, presentations for sure. But also the last day when we will have the opportunity, and of course the invitation is open also to the Greek participants, because we have the fortune to have both the national groups very active. So it will be an opportunity to expand our network, to share ideas, to collect also interesting inputs to bring inside this project, which is extremely interdisciplinary, as Tremeur was saying, because you perfectly know that we are all coming from very different backgrounds. So we have people studying engineering, chemistry, medicine, political sciences. So we are perfectly in line with the idea of the Commission about this new, this new trend, and the fact that we need to work together and to collect as many inputs and experiences and contribution as possible. I don't know if we have some questions for Tremeur, or not only questions, but also if you want to say something about this presentation. I suppose he will stay with us for the next part also. Yes, so if not now, we will have another slot at the end of the seminar if you want to say something. So please, Giannis, the floor is yours now.
Thank you so much, Enrico. I'm so happy to be with you again after 1 month exactly, actually, since our first meeting. I will just start from where Tremeur left it and saying that we see these wonderful initiatives, and all of us are trying. Tremeur said that, and it's very true, that it's even hard to map those initiatives. Tremeur, I wish you the best for your endeavors and your projects. What's important, and I will try to focus on my presentation, is how to approach more people towards what we need to convey, towards the messages that we need to convey. So without further ado, I will share my screen. I don't know if I can do it right now. All right, I will share my presentation. Like we said, here's a little agenda of what we'll cover tonight. I will try to be quick. Like the last time, I have the links in all the slides, so you'll get some more extensive ideas and thoughts about all the topics that we'll cover. So the agenda will talk about the power of content. Just examples. I have selected a few examples that demonstrate the power of our voice, even if it's let's say if we don't have the means or the money to pay for promoting our content. I will focus a bit about how to, let's say, navigate through all this mess and create a content strategy that will work for us, giving you again some examples. Then I will go to some tools for content creation. I've shared with you some tools. For those of you that are interested, there are a bigger list of tools in case you need further elaboration. Then we'll go to see how to make our content share-worthy, again with examples, and some closing remarks. So I will make some stops throughout the presentation so I can accept any questions, or at the end. And like I told you the previous time, I have all my contacts at the latest slide, so you can connect with me and contact me anytime. And I will be more than willing to go through projects that you work or your teams work to try and make them, let's say, travel to more people, make them more relevant to people. So I will start with an example. I will not go through the videos. All these have videos behind. I will not go through all of them because I don't have the time, but you can take the chance to see at home. Here's this guy called Craig Carper, who made a small video about a company called Abercrombie & Fitch. I think you know the company. The video is about how this company is very snobbish, how this company is, you can see the link on the back, how this company does not have a good policy towards people because they make only clothes for very fit people. They don't make large sizes. On top of that, if they change they burn the unsold items, they don't give them away. They have a very snobbish policy. And this guy, he made a video about trying to change that. He went to a store, he bought some Abercrombie & Fitch clothes. he donated to homeless people. And with his video, he said, I'm just one person. I cannot do it myself. Help me make this an example of how this snobbish policy of Abercrombie should be punished. I don't know if I have shared with the sound, but I will not go through the video now because it will take time. In your seeing this presentation, you can have the time to play it at your own convenience. The thing is that the response to his video was immense. People at the same time starting criticizing the company. The effect was that in terms of the next 6 months, US sales dropped 40% just because of this video. People started to use this hashtag feeds the homeless. Some people from the Hollywood industry got involved, some broadcasters got involved, and CEO, who was until then one of the most successful CEOs of all times, had to step down. Actually, he stepped down a year later, but he had an issue, an apology for his own remarks. And that's a perfect example of how one man's voice could lead to change, because he managed to, let's say, to speak to the hearts of people. Going forward, we saw this slide the last time. I just will go fast about how everything and technology has disrupted everything. We know, and Tremeur actually mentioned it, it's very hard with all this cataclysm of information to know what information to hold, like to make the information we want to share with people stand out. So it's really hard to make our information stand out through this clutter. On top of that, we have some new things coming on that will be our life for the years to come. We have this metaverse world, we have blockchain, we have crypto, we have NFTs. And just to give you a small example, just NFT sales for 2021 was almost were almost $25 billion. Just a single piece of art. For those of you who haven't heard the term NFT, NFT is a digital asset that can be bought and sold online through crypto coins mainly, but also with plain money. And for one piece of work sold by Sotheby's, it was sold for $69 million. So everything's changing very fast. What does not change? How can we stay relevant through all this clutter of information? I would say a paradigm that this is Abraham Maslow. He's considered the patriarch of social theory. He has developed the theory of human motivation, and in simple word, he says there's a pyramid of needs, where in the base of the pyramid is the safety and psychological needs. We have to feel safe. We have food and so we can operate. And then, as we people solve some needs, we go over on top of the pyramid. In the digital world, the same applies, and we can use the same example to stay relevant. We have to think of people's needs. You will see later in my presentation why I mentioned this. Actually, we have to be able to make our content relevant to people. We have to first think of the addressable audience needs, not our needs. For instance, Tremeur might need to let's say, communicate about his green educational project. But unless he is able to make it relevant for us, he won't be able to convey the message, no matter how important it is. First, I need to see what's in it for me. First, it has to be relevant to my needs. It has to be delivered in a time that I will be able to consume it. So I have a few paradigms on that. So let's focus on content strategy. I would start with why, as Albert Einstein said, if I had to solve a problem and my life would depend on it, on the solution, I would spend 50 minutes determining the proper answer, the proper question. So to define how to make our content relevant, first, we need to put it on paper. First, we need to identify our basic goals. We need to make our voice, let's say, more relevant to people. We need to make our voice apply to more people. First, we need to find our voice. And I will use the example of World Economic Forum that I mentioned the other time. I will showcase you with this example how they created their own voice, they created their own house style. Then we need to know our audience. We need to know to which audience we want to address our content. And we want to know what this audience is interested about. So we need to be relevant to them. We need to be true and trustworthy to them. These are very important matters. Then we need to define how to approach them. We need to define our content distribution channels. Will it be social media? Will it be forums? Will it be applications? Will it be online spaces? Will it be metaverse? It's up to us to decide. Then again, we have to be always consistent with our audience. We have to work with them. Actually, Tremeur also, he didn't even have enough time to elaborate more, but he said about that. He's trying to, let's say, cultivate people and make them get involved in the project. It's very important to be able to get people close to us and get them involved in what we need to convey. Of course, some good ways are to monitor trends and exploit popularity in special dates. I have a few examples that I will showcase about that. And at the end of the day, we'll be successful if we manage to make people so interested in our content that will turn them into ambassadors from simple listeners. The idea is that if Tremeur, for instance, had the chance to make us all participants tonight speak about his educational project, that would be a huge success. To do that, we have to see the content, to, let's say, find interest on those topics. We have to figure our participation there. And the more we participate, the more we consume content, the more possibilities we have is to convey the message further and to be ambassadors of this content. So I know this raises some questions. I will go through some paradigms, some examples, some case studies, and please feel free to stop me for questions anytime. Enrico, Yolanda, should you think that you should stop me anytime, I will be able to deliver questions on the way. So I will start again with the World Economic Forum. Remember the example that we saw last time. The idea is that the World Economic Forum tries to push its content through various ways. They have a big presentation in various social media platforms everywhere. I go through their site fast. If we go at the end at the bottom of the site, you will see the social media they use. They have more. They have also YouTube presence. They have, but in all platforms and social media, they're active. And what they do, they have created a common, recognizable style for people that people can relate, can identify that this is a content by World Economic Forum. A lot of the topics they cover, they don't, some of the topics, they have nothing to do with what the World Economic Forum is all about, but they have to do what people are interested about. So let's go and see their YouTube channel or their, or their Instagram account. As you can see, TikTok account, YouTube channel. As you can see, there are links behind every slide. So once we have the presentation, we will be able to go there and see them for yourself. So a few things that we can identify when I'm saying their voice or their corporate house style, if you want. You can see easily that they maintain for their videos a command frame for text. They underline text with a pin. They have some easily recognizable music. They put their logo on World Economic Forum behind that. So, for instance, this one, let's see this one. I don't know if you have, I think I haven't shared my sound, so I will stop share for a second and share it again with sound, because I think you don't have sound. So now you're able to hear the sound as well. We don't have to see the whole video. I'm just trying to demonstrate why that's important. Let me just close this. So again, if I go to here, you will see that this video has been seen 80,000 times. It has 79 comments, and Instagram is not World Economic Forum's power side. They have more people on LinkedIn. They have more people on YouTube. They have more people on TikTok. They have 2 million on TikTok. And somebody would say the World Economic Forum shouldn't be on TikTok. Yet they know that this is a platform used by millions across the board, and they have they use a little bit slight different style in TikTok to make it more relevant for younger people. Also on YouTube, you will see that they have indexed their content in, let me accept those. If you see their lines, their channels use, they have especially a special communication line depending on the addressable audience. So they have topics about, let's say, green development. They have topics about sustainability. They have topic about experts saying things. Again, you will see that they have this very recognizable site where everywhere they place their own World Economic Forum logo. And these are not topics they own. They are topics that have a very big amount of popularity. So they choose, and their approach is that we talk optimistically, mainly. We talk about big issues about the world, and we try to make our content relevant. That's why they have a big follower base, and one of their greatest successes is that they have managed to be able to make their content shareable for people. For instance, I will go again on their site. For each of their topics, let's say, if I go to one of their articles, you will see all these articles have social media buttons so people can share it. So if I press Facebook, I share it on Facebook, I share it on Twitter, I share it on Instagram. So these are called social shareability buttons, and a lot of sites, they don't even have it on that produce content. Of course, I can always go here and take and copy and paste this link and share it on my social, but why not make it more relevant, more easy for me by just giving me the option to share it directly? So these are good practices for content sharing. Going back again, I will not go further. I hope it's understood that they have managed to create content that applies to people. People, they have a very big number of ambassadors in every platform. In some platforms, they are more successful. In some platforms, they're not so successful, but still they have managed to make their content share-worthy. That's their choice. So another example, I will play this video. This is just a moment. Remember a few years ago when we had the big fuss about Black Lives Matter, when a person in the States were assassinated by police. Nike, who is a leader in terms of marketing, they took this chance and made this small video. This is a video of 1 minute. Again, you will not have to do that on your browser, but sorry about that. I will do it the other way around. I will copy. Okay, I think if I share it from my presentation here. Okay. Open link. This will open. Sorry, don't know why, but I will do it like this. And I hope this time it will work. They said, sorry about that. Let's not waste more time. I will find it. I will check that it works for you. The idea is that they created a video of 40 seconds, I think, just plain black. And they said, for once, don't do it. This is a time not to speak. We have to let some more important voices that matter most be heard. So we'll stop any advertising activity. And this was accepted by audience with enthusiasm, because people thought that Nike was doing the right thing. Right after that, and I have put the title of Take a Leap of Faith, Adidas chose to show that people were clapping Nike for what they did, and Adidas immediately chose to share their opponent's content on their social media, saying together is how we move forward, together is how we make change. Again, this was considered by people as a great move by Adidas, and they actually gave the clap to Adidas. And this is a practice that has been since then been played again and again. In Greece, brands are trying to, sometimes we have seen banks that promote their opponent's posts. The same thing we have seen with supermarkets promoting when let's say a post of their opponent make an impact, sometimes they choose to also push it forward, and they get the, let's say, the acceptance of their audience as well. Of course, we have to be very careful when dealing with publicity, and when we have to deal with very important matters, we have to be very careful, because sometimes even when we create a perfect ad like this one, this is a great video, I suggest all you to see. Some years ago, while the Me Too movement about equality of women and men and women was a huge topic, still is, but when it was started in the States, Audi decided to make an ad addressing that, saying that we as Audi have, let's say, we have done equal payment for men and women. And they made a perfect ad, with great creative, about the relation of a father and a daughter, played in the prime time TV during Super Bowl. This is the most expensive time zone, advertised time zone ever, with the biggest, let's say, number of spectators. They did this ad. This ad was performing perfectly. People were saying, what a great ad, bravo Audi, well done Audi, well done for addressing equality and stuff, until this happened. There was this girl that on their Twitter account, she put this post: Audi would never hire your daughter. And he just took a screenshot of Audi's BOD, posted it, and said, okay, where's your equality if your BOD is just men? That's something very, very important. I wish I had more time to elaborate on that. But just to give you the example, if we go now to Audi site to take a look at their BOD, you will find that their BOD is, let's say, company. Let me see if I can find their BOD. You will see that profile, brand, sustainability. Sorry about that. I have to find the international site. If you go to their site, you will see that on their BOD, they have half of their members are women. On their representatives, company representatives, more than half of their representatives are women, and it's a car company. Why? Because they took their lesson. Because they know that they have to put their mouth where their money is. If you say that I support equality, you have to show that in reality. So we have to be very careful of these little details. Also, here's that's an example from Greece. This is a very tiny bookstore in Crete, in Chania. They don't even have a site. They don't have any store, e-shop, but a lot of people here might know it. They have on their Facebook profile more than 1,000 followers. And if we take a look at their profile, that we'll see that it's not about followers, because the important thing is not how many followers you have. The important thing is how much engagement they have. So in each one of their posts, they have a lot of 14 shares, 500 comments, 1.4 thousand likes, 2,020 shares. And this is a lot more engagement than some big Greek bookstores. Why? Because this bookstore has found their voice online. They have created a big community on their Facebook profile, and it gets supported by people. People love its content. They share a lot. They like their content. You see this very big engagement rate in all their posts. Okay, what they do, how have they find their own voice? They quote some poets and writers that people love. They don't have to be writers that necessarily have books about them. Of course, most of them, they will have books about them, but the idea here is that they identified what people want to hear about. So it's about making the right choices. It's about, that's why I have noted for you, think about what your audience needs, not what you need. They don't go out trying to sell books. They don't go out saying that, get this book, it's a great book. They go out, but with what people can relate. Okay, so moving forward, I will skip those. This is just some side notes about how to stay relevant. Is that every platform like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, they have their own algorithms of how they promote content. You can understand about that by, let's say, sometimes we make a post, we upload a photo, and we don't get enough, let's say, likes or comments or feedback from people. For instance, this is the Facebook algorithm called EdgeRank. If, for instance, one of the factors is time decay. If you post a photo and the first half an hour, it gets a lot of likes, this photo gives a signal to the platform that people like this photo. So the platform pushes it more towards more people. So let's say a small hack that we do, if I would like to share a content about if I had this page of green reporters and I wanted to make one post more, to have more possibilities to go to more people, and want the Facebook or Instagram platform to promote it more, I would try and convince you on the first half an hour. Let's say, can we all go and like our post on the first 10 minutes after it's been posted? That's a very good signal on the platform that this is a likable video, photo, post, so promote it more. Okay, so what I've put for you is that try to search about new features, update, and good practices. You can find about them through their corporate blogs. And we identify new elements, opportunities, and trending topics. Again, if I want to push forward more of my content, let's say I was Tremeur and I want to get more people involved on a project. I made this webinar, but some people could not be present. I have to be able to make it online, available for people to consume it on a secondary time, a little afterwards. Or I can try to, let's say, see how I could make more people involved. If it was not a matter of pressing times, I would never deliver such presentations. I would always ask in every step of my presentation, as I do in my lectures, I would ask for your participation. Unfortunately, due to the limited time, I can only get questions and I have to cover a lot of topics fast. So after that, we passed through some tools. Again, I will show you some tools and examples, and that's it. I don't know if you have, if you want to go through some questions now, or if you want me to continue. Yolanda, Enrico, everyone, please feel free. Let me see.
Yes, I don't have particular questions. I'd like to leave the floor to our participants if they have any kind of questions, any kind of thing they wanted to say. If we want to make not a break, but I can just say this, that we will give you some homework, let's say, for the next seminars, and specifically not for the next one, but the last one of the 2022. We have selected some articles, some topics. Well, Yolanda did. So I don't know if near to the closure of the seminar or by email, we will send you, we will show you these articles. What we want to from you is that you will select one of these. Of course, we will start to create small themes also, just to begin this kind of mutual collaboration. And the assignment will be to produce a kind of media message, something that you will exchange. You will be asked to find the focus of the topic, the real or the problem or the solution. So you need to prepare something. And since I see among us Mrs. Marokuri, which will be the person who will close the first cycle of the seminar in this 2022, then you will be asked to share this product, and we will together with Mrs. Kuri, we will go through your product. So we can analyze it, we can start to see how to produce a really impactful message. So with this kind of activity now in your mind, again, I ask you to use this time. If there are things you want to ask to Giannis or to Tremeur also, if you are really interested in such kind of initiatives, in order to prepare in the better possible way the next steps of the project, because you will really work on these practical things. You will really use this kind of tools, so Giannis are presenting us really a lot of examples, a lot of possibilities. Of course, you are not forced to use all these tools. You will not use all these different kind of communication. So if you already selected something, if you want to make some question related to a very specific tool or very specific example, please don't hesitate. Of course, if there are no inputs, if there are no questions, Giannis, please go on with your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Enrico. So going forward, we skip to the tools part, and like we had we had talked about Canva before. I would call Canva a super tool. Why? Because it encompasses a lot of things, and it gives us a lot of opportunities for content creation, even for video, or if I want to make an infographic, or like we said the other time, we could use it to, let's say, find a lot of insights or ready-made templates. Going forward fast on this, let's go to Canva. Let me close a couple of. Okay. We can, let's say, start with what's our idea about, what we want to create. Like Enrico mentioned, you might produce some content. Maybe you have some photography that you'll discuss with Mara Curie. Maybe you have some bullet points of findings from some investigation or some, let's say, things that you will want to highlight, and you want to make it more more relevant, more interesting to people. You can have a lot of options. One option is to search, for instance, you can search of how to produce. I put infographics and planet. This is a great option to give you some a lot of examples. You can see here that it has already given me a lot of options. Where you can see this little crown, it's a pro option, so you have to pay extra money, but there are a lot of options that are free. You can still use. For instance, this SDG progress report, and this gives you you have a lot of options like this. The more you get yourself familiar with the tool, the better options will be. And here I want to tell you what has personally helped me. If you find a way how to search online and make it handy for you, you will find a lot of answers to everything. So I cannot remember all the tools. I have used tools that I will never remember, and I want to find them again. If I know how to search, I can easily do it. So using this, it has a lot of formats. Some of these may apply, and you get a nice outlook in your own report. You have ready-made templates, you have ready-made formats. Everything here is customizable, so you can put your own context, you can change everything, your own style. So it's really easy. Because we talked about video, I will show you first one of my recently a very dear friend of mine has had his birthday, so I made a small video for him. Let me go through my projects. And just to give you an idea how to, no, I will not, I will just say it fast. He has a band on his own, and he's also a great fan of Iron Maiden. So I created a small video to tease him. I was trolling him about the Iron Maiden, which is this, just a couple of seconds. But I think again, I haven't shared the sound. So not to delay, imagine that there is Iron Maiden sound on playing on the background. It's a bit slow, I don't know why. Okay, let's not wait it. The idea is that I've created, this is my friend, and these are the members of the Iron Maiden. The idea is that you can easily upload your own content in here. I used this photo of Iron Maiden, and I did some editing, some basic editing. Because I could not edit, let's say, I had to use a clear background. I had to remember how to use this photo and actually take the background in order to use it in a different template. I could not remember. So what I did some search of how to remove, I just put remove background. And this gives me a lot of options to see how easy it is. I can choose any one of these tools. I can choose Adobe Express. I can choose this tool here. And I upload an image and instantly it removes the background. Then I upload to Canva and use it, cut and paste the way I want. Actually, I could do the same thing on Canva, provided that I have the paid version. Okay, on Canva, it's not for free. So there are always workarounds if you want to use these things. Let me just put it to see how easy it is. And once I have a PNG version, which is a transparent actually format of the same image, I can download it, upload it on Canva and work with this. Sometimes tools are not making a perfect job, so I can just let go and edit a little. Just again to show you how easy it is, I can highlight the part that I want on the picture, and it was not decided. Here it is, his foot, his leg is already on the picture. I will not share more time here. The idea is that Canva is a super tool, and you have many options. I will remain at your disposal if you decide to produce some, let's say, like Enrico said, if you make some work and you want to, let's say, use a format that can be either on an animation or on a video format, I will be at your disposal. You can feel free to contact me anytime to work together or to give you some ideas if you need any ideas. So I will go fast. I will just take 5 minutes, I think, because I need to be, I don't know if I have enough time. I will just use 5 minutes and then I will go through discussion. There are a lot of, these are some tools that help me distribute my content in various platforms. For instance, I can use later to create one post and ask later, just post it on Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, you name it, LinkedIn, TikTok, etc. Again, it's most of these tools are free to try, but then you have to pay some money to use. There are some totally free tools, but then again, once they become serious, again, you have to pay a little bit of money to use them. There are some workarounds, like I told you the last time, and I have shared in the notes with you, IFTTT, where you can create some we call formulas or recipes that actually is automated actions, saying that once I upload a post on Facebook, immediately post it on Twitter or Instagram, etc. This is something convenient, but there are some drawbacks. So if I want to go deeper, I have to tell you that sometimes it's better to use one platform at a time, because some of these tools are working, but they get penalized by platforms. So the other thing is that in order to be able to deliver content faster and easier and better, we have to create a content or editorial calendar, as we call it. In a few words, imagine that we have the schedule of the next month of, let's say, December ahead of us, identified all the important dates. For instance, on December, we might have 2 dates about the environment. Tremeur before informed us about the European International Day of Green Education. Or these are handy chances for us to use them to create, to make our message be amplified. We can use an international or national date or event to create content, and this is the time that people are more willing to share it, and so our content gets more audience. So it's not a matter of tool. You can choose all these tools. They have their links on the back, so you can go through them. There are some other tools because I think Enrico told me about how can monitoring things. This is a great tool by Neil Patel, who's actually a guru, a very well-established guy. He talks about SEO, and Uber suggests is a tool that can, on their free level, it can give us a lot of ideas. It can give us a lot of details of the standing of our site. It can give us a lot of ideas about keywords, about how to find places where content is, there are big discussions about it. There are a lot of these tools called social monitoring or social mining, data mining or data monitoring tools. Uber suggests as one of them. We can put a site and see how important it is, who links back to us, find topics of interest, etc. I will just ask again about information, just to check my messages. Okay. Again, I will share. And I will close with a couple of examples of how to think about content again. We have to think, like I told you, we have to think about content as Maslow did. I mean, we have to think about where would we address. For instance, I have here an example of a police station. Can you imagine a police station that would be very, very popular to people? Here is an example. This is Kingston Police Station, a police station in UK, who had they managed to confiscate a huge amount of cannabis plants. And instead of saying that we managed to confiscate cannabis plants, that was illegal, they made this post that it makes waves on social media, and it's a case study of how to create great content using humor. They said, are you a cannabis farmer? Have you returned home today and found your 281 plants missing? Don't worry, we have them safely stashed at Kingston Police Station. Pop in or call 101 if you want to call them back. Cheers, Kingston Police Station. And as you can see, this content, I have for you the link as well. This is the content that made a lot of waves. People were super excited about this. It had more than 10,000 shares, 34,000 likes, and a huge amount of comments. Another example would be to think about people being humane. This is McDonald's 2 years ago, when everybody was under still the influence of COVID was bigger. And if you go to the article on behind, you will see that this post made thousands of people getting involved in that. Brands were flocking one after the other just to comment on this post. Why? Because this post was super popular. And this post saying it's always when the McRib is coming back, and never how are you doing person who runs the McDonald's account. This related to people, it's humorous, it's humane, and it's a good example of how you can create relevant content. Sometimes we have to think, maybe sometimes we have something very important to say, but imagine that some messages are better conveyed if we use humor, if you use human sentiment. That's what advertising does a lot. They apply to our sentiment. to convey the message and make it stick worth better. Another example of this, embrace popularity by demand. This is for those of you that you know it, it's a Jerusalem Dance Challenge. It's a challenge introduced on TikTok with characteristic sound behind. And Austrian Airlines, they did this challenge that was already popular on YouTube, TikTok, and other social media platforms. And they had a huge success. And then a lot of companies followed using this same challenge. You can see some options. I will not go through them. You can see some options at your own convenience. For those of you who want to get deeper, and this is my closing slides, you can go and search about how to make your content more relevant to people. HubSpot is a big marketing company, it's one of the biggest. They've created the inbound marketing flywheel. In short, inbound marketing is how we manage to make people coming for our content. Instead of trying to push, we pull the interest of people. So for anybody who wants to go deeper, search for the inbound marketing. And like we said before, it's always important to try to nurture your audience. It's very important to keep people involved on what we have to say. So we need to be able to educate people. If Tremeur has to share with us some very important findings of European Union, it's highly like that we might get interesting and also share to our circles through social media. If I can get involved, I have more reasons to share content. Of course, always it's very important in this era of misinformation, disinformation, to be able to be trustworthy and stick to one. That's why we said we create our own house style, because we don't want people to get lost in the clutter of information. We need to be able to have a clear idea, a clear and trustworthy brand about anything we want to people to get involved with. And this is a circle goes on and on all the time. So thank you so much. Again, this is a slide I used. Yeah. It's not about tools. It's about how we want to structure our position and how we want to place our content. Last slide is my contact. If you can see that all my contacts are on the back, there are links. So feel free to get connected with me. I hope I know it's, thank you for bearing up with me. I don't know if you have translation. Hopefully it was easy for the translator because I have to talk fast.
No, today we didn't have translation.
Okay,
so
okay.
All the participants were forced to listen in English, but I think that everything was very clear. Thank you. Of course, we will circulate also your slides. I saw they are full of links, full of very useful information. So yes, and as you said, I invite all our young people to contact you in case of necessity. Of course, you are more than welcome if you want to participate also in our
We'll be delighted, of
future
course.
seminars. We will have less, how to say, practical information, practical inputs on communication. We will focus more on different kind of topics. We will go through very different sectors also, starting from heritage to food to yes, very different topics. So again, I open the space for questions, for inputs. Let me just say, because I forgot to do it before, into the chat, you can find very useful links that Tremeur put inside the chat. So if you want to register to the climate days, there are the direct link. If you want to have a look to the council recommendation, you have another link. If you want also to have a look to the Green Comp document, there is a link. You can go, you can download the document. It is available in many languages. So feel free to read in the most suitable for you. If waiting for, we have one. Yes, Eleonora, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Okay, I have two short questions for Mr. Denigot. First question is how European countries, about the problem of climate change, how European countries have reacted to climate change challenge. And then the second question was before to educate people, we have to sensibilize people to the problem of about climate change. How we can sensibilize people about this huge problem? Thank you.
Thank you, Eleonora. And the first question is a very good one, because as a matter of fact, I was talking about the European Union, but I mean, when it comes to what the member states are doing, there are very huge discrepancy and differences from one country to another. And that applies to the EU, but that applies to beyond the EU. It's also the case. And within the countries, there are also some differences from one region to another. Which is an issue. So it's true that if it's difficult for me in my position to say, that country is better to that one, but it's true that there are countries where you have already networks in place and I should say an awareness which is different, but also resources that are very different. And then it also is very much linked to the way education is being, the education systems are being organized. It's true that in certain countries it's easier in a way because they already have an organization that gives them the possibility more easily, for instance, to go for more interdisciplinary approach and things like that. When in fact, when the silos of the disciplines, for instance, are very well defined, too well defined sometimes, it's very difficult. If you have an education system, for instance, where autonomy at school level is not very high, but doesn't give the possibility, for instance, to that school to play a bit with the timetables, it makes things more difficult. If they have that level of autonomy, of course, they can experiment more easily. So these are the differences that you have. And then the second aspect, which is directly related to your second question, it's something which is very much based on how a society sees climate change. I mean, the level of awareness is very different from one country to another. That's a reality, and it's very much, of course, linked to the way information is spread, especially scientific information, I should say, in these countries. But it's also, and this is precisely what we're trying to do, how education system or the learning systems at large are aware and focused on climate change. So one leverage, which is, to my view, but I think it's something which is shared by most of the experts anyway, working in education, which is definitely a super important one, is the training of the teachers. But that's obvious what I'm saying. But I mean, if you have teachers that are really very trained and had the knowledge regarding climate change, I mean, obviously they will tend to focus more on it and on develop projects more easily that are based on the environment or whatever, on the green transition. But if they don't have the level of knowledge or skills which is required. So I'm a fonctionnaire, as we say in French. I'm a civil servant, and I personal. What I'm saying here, I'm talking on my personal really quality. I'm not talking as a European civil servant, but I'm a French civil servant. I firmly believe that the training of the people working in civil service regarding climate change is something that has got to be done. For instance, I've seen that in France, they began a very nice experiment where they, because it costs a lot of money, of course, where they put up some schemes to train the high civil servant because they need the knowledge. I mean, most of the time they don't have it. They might have, a vague view of what's happening, but they need really to have and that takes time. I mean, that training is not something you can do in a couple of hours. You need to work on it. And if as a teacher or anyway as a policy officer, where you will have certainly to tackle some policies that are related to environment, because I mean it's very difficult nowadays not to do something when it comes to public service which is not in a way or another related to green issues. You don't have any clue about what you're doing because you don't have the full picture. I mean, it's very difficult. So I think we have in all our countries to think about the training of the professionals and the training of the teachers force when it comes to education in the very first place, to make sure that the level of awareness on knowledge and skills is the one we need to promote green education. And it might seem obvious what I'm saying, but I mean, it's not that obvious, and it has a cost also, but it's something we should certainly and definitely consider. And then the last thing I wanted to say, of course, we can also count on the peer learning, which is something very important. But for that, we need to promote ways of working that are very much based on collaboration, which is also what we're trying to do with that community of practice. Because I think that I'm talking about schools, but I mean, in fact, we're not just talking about schools. It also goes for universities or other places where learning is more informal. I mean, if you have professional in a school, for instance, where you have someone who is really, I mean, very well aware of climate change. I mean, that teacher, for instance, can give a lot of knowledge and train his own colleagues, certainly. But for that, you've got to identify these people, of course. I know teachers, for instance, in certain schools that are playing that role, and it's something which works rather well. But here again, you've got to set up such a scheme so that things happen, of course. And I just recall, for instance, I mean, that's the reality in France. Most of the schools are public. The compulsory system is the most important one. And the reality is that training, for instance, for teachers is not compulsory. That's a fact.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Tremeur. Do we have someone else who wants to say something? No, it seems I would like to use these last minutes asking to Yolanda if you can present us some part of the articles, of the topics you already selected just to make our participants aware of what they will receive in the following days. If you manage, because I know you have a lot of code, so if you think
I prefer to send them
okay,
by email, but I thought that it would be nice to have to start by short articles, and I selected some articles by the BBC, and which are short, and for instance, it's an article of about 2 pages. It could be about 2 pages, entitled "What is climate change?" It's very simple, and just to try to use some of the tools that Giannis presented, or other tools that we know. We could try to start with a simple article and try to transfer it into a media message. Try to create a video out of this article. It could be anything else. It could be something that is interesting for any of you, something that's happening in your neighborhood, in your town, anything. But just to help, we could start with a list of topics that I have selected and I propose to you. Myself, I had this problem. Since the last seminar, I tried to use Canvas, this tool that Giannis presented, and I realized that I do not know what to say. I was lacking the key idea. What am I to say? What do I want? What is the strong idea that I want to convey? So I realized that I have to start from this point to define and decide what's the strong idea, that the key idea that I want people to understand, and then to decline to translate this to arguments. And so I think that's these articles that already have a structure of this type could help us start easily and try to translate a text message to an audio and a video, a media message. So I will send an email with some topics, some proposals.
great, thank you. As we always say, you can choose the perspective you want. You can start from your very local context. You can talk about your city, your region, your country. You can adopt a European perspective. Seminar by seminar, we are improving the level of knowledge. We are adding inputs, topics, different perspectives as well among us. So yes, this is the intention of this exercise. So great, thank you. We have the last 5 minutes of the seminar. So now or never, if you want to say something. Otherwise, we will close a little bit in advance. First of all, I don't want to make this at the end, so I really thanks again all our guests, then you for your participation. I am sure that little by little we will manage to open a real discussion. Probably there are still some little things we need to unlock from your perspective. Please, if part of the message is not clear, tell us, because it is really important. If you are a little bit shy, we can understand, but if this block is related to some kind of message which is not clear, please inform us, because we need to intervene in this sense if any kind of if we need to rephrasing the message. So, okay.
May I add something?
Yes, for sure.
I would I would propose that we use more this private Facebook group. There we can post anything, the videos we create or any ideas or exchange messages. And then there you can see that I have posted one of the videos that one of the Greek participants created. She used just an application that she had downloaded in her mobile phone, which is called CapCut. So she created a video, and I have a. You can have a look at this in this private group, Facebook group. So let's use the the tools to communicate between us. If you have another suggestion for tools to communicate among us, you can propose them.
Yes, we are always open for your suggestions, inputs, of course. So I wanted to say bye-bye to all of you. Remember the climate days, which are very important. They happen only once a year. So we are very close to this event. So it will be really a pity to miss this opportunity, because it's very relevant for our project. We will talk about this project into the Italian group. So we will share with all the participants what we are doing, even if we are just starting the activity. But so thank you again.
I have just a question, but only for Italian organizers, Professor Messinese and Professoressa Donzelli. So I will ask some minutes after this meeting for a question, but only to organizing next meeting.
Okay. We can stay connected. Okay, great.
Just for thanking everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you very much.
Grazie a tutti, è stato un piacere. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Grazie.
Grazie.
Bonsoir à tous.
Nice evening.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.